Okay, everybody, good afternoon and welcome. Another day, another webinar. I think we've just got a couple of people jumping in last minute, but thank you for turning up, for joining us on this webinar today, and I hope you are all well, safe, and getting about your business as best you can. Yesterday, we had the pleasure of talking about the UC1 Trio. Today, we wanted to just run through again the Call2Teams proposition, which launched just very recently. Salespeople have been on the training courses, have had a chance to experience the app and just see where it fits in. But today, Ed Thrussell is joining me. He will be running through most of the work. Ed, do you want to do a sound check?
Hello.
There you go, that's Ed Thrussell. So Ed's going to do most of the heavy lifting today. I just want to really set the scene. And again, just say what we were saying yesterday. We are in extraordinary times. We can help businesses to remain as operational as possible. We've been making home working possible in the first few weeks. Now it's our job to try and make it as efficient and effective as possible. And while we're talking about putting things like the UC1 Trio out to work, we will come across customers, and we should come across customers who have got the Teams proposition through C365 and are using that to help them stay together and work together as a team. And here we've got the opportunity of adding a device to that that can expand their experience. And again, as we said yesterday, it's important that we do this work, and we do this work hard and fast in the next week or so, because there are other virtual meeting players out there. There are other people who would like to plug Teams into their SIP trunks, and that may cause a threat to your hosted business going forward. So it's an important job for us to go and find the right customers and to talk to them about things. The key benefits are that we're simply adding a keypad to the side of a Teams app, so an app that people want to use. We're adding a device to the side of it, and a device that links in with all of our BroadWorks-based and other apps-based propositions, including the call recording. So it works both on the PC and the mobile. We may not have talked about the mobile app too much, but if you have got Teams workers who are using both a PC and mobile-based apps, when we put Call2Teams in, we get a dial pad up on both of those. Ed's going to show the PC one today. But again, I would suggest get the apps down for yourselves, try and sign up so that you've got some sort of user experience and try it out. It obviously, if you add BroadWorks anywhere, this can be an additional handset rather than their only handset. So you've still got the choices of having either UC1 soft phones or having a hard desk phone that's related to the phone solution rather than the Teams solution. But you can have it doing the dialing, et cetera, and then the customer can still enjoy the other services. And this is the important win against the straightforward Teams provision, is that you've still got your big call center, your contact center solutions. You've got the compliant call recording, and I include in that the fact that you can easy access, download, share, but audit trail, all of the things that GDPR and MiFID II require you to do. You've got the reports and analytics power of the UBOS engine. You've also got things like the Akixi wallboard and the Mondago CRM integration capabilities that you run behind. And very, very soon, we will be launching you out that mobile SIM, which will mean that sort of low-grade phones or smartphones can be integrated directly into the extension. So this is about building up the value of Teams by integrating it with a proper telephony solution. And it's well worth getting out there and sweeping around, because, as I said, the IT crowd and competitors will be looking for people who adopt a lot of Teams work and start to contemplate whether they can get away with sticking SIP trunks into the back of that. So our objective is to overview the product itself, and Ed's going to highlight some of the mechanics that go into setting it up and how it's set up. And your opportunity, I would say, is to make sure you've set up an account. So if you've got 365, if you can get onto 365, get yourself an account down, If you've been on the training courses, you can have access to a Call2Teams license. And so practice it by using it as a lead device. Turn everything off, do a bit of dialing through, get a few calls coming through. It's not wizardry, it's just a simple app. And perhaps try and understand the Teams world a bit better. Certainly something I'm doing myself at the moment is just trying to investigate how people use Teams, what the experience is, what we're grafting on the side of, because we'll better understand the emotion that goes into people using the Teams product internally within their working groups. So without further ado, I am going to pop across and ask Ed to take over. I'm going to make him the presenter, and I shall pick up at the end and try and tie things together. Ed, over to you, I believe.
Thank you very much. Okay, hopefully you can all see my screen. Oh,
yes, I can.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, hello. Sorry. Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Ian. So, guys, I'm just going to quickly run you through the Teams app and what's required to set all this up to start with as well, to get you guys going. This is just quickly the Teams app. What will happen once you enable certain licenses within Call2Teams and within Office 365? You get this little dial pad show up down the bottom here, which by default, if you're a Teams user, you know isn't there by default. You just get an option to make a call, and it'll ask you to type in someone's name, and it will insist that you're calling someone within your own internal organisation within the Teams contacts there. What I'm actually going to do is just quickly run you through the UBOS and the Call2Teams portals, just to give you an idea of what's involved in that side of it before you can even start using the application. So just want to show you the UBOS side first. That's fairly straightforward. So there is a business service which is free of charge, which is called Call2Teams business service here. Just a pretty straightforward service. Just give it a name. In the guide that came out with the information last week, it says that in the description, can you put the global admin email address for the business in question? So I'm a global admin for DRD, and the reason that is because that person is going to have to log into the Call2Teams admin portal to start the process, because without that, you can't log into your tenant in Office 365 or the Teams, and so that needs to be done. So if basically the reason why I asked for this in here is because when we get the email through, we have to go and set you up in Call2Teams, make sure you get the right licenses, and also we have to invite and the global admin user, and so that's the one that we have to put there. So that's all there, and other than that, that's all you need to do in that service. You hit save, we'll get an email on that. At the moment, there's no APIs between it, so there's a lot of what we refer to as swivel chair provisioning. You've probably heard that from us before, but it's very much us taking the information, or you taking the information and then entering it into another portal. But APIs hopefully coming soon, so we'll see where we get to with that. There's also a chargeable user service, which if I look down here is the app called Teams user license. Just apply that. You can put it into a package, obviously, as you can do any other add-on service. One thing to bear in mind is it does have a device associated to it, so you do have to assign a device. If you already have a desk phone or another soft phone, then you will need to add on the mobility bolt-on to make sure that you get shared call appearance as well. But a lot of people I've been talking to, this is going to be their only device, so you can obviously get away with just adding a smart user package with this added into it, and off you go. But that certainly needs to be added, and also you can't add that service unless you've already assigned the business service. So there's a dependency there, so you can't add this without adding that business service, so just bear that in mind. For the time being, until there's been some work done on the APIs and around that side of it, you have to go in and manually add a device as well. I picked on Ian here because he's got all this already. So you can see here at the bottom, there's a Call2Teams device. I can see that it's registered with the little green mark there, and I can go in and I've got all my credentials. Now you're going to need to go in at some point and get this out, because you're going to need to use it when you log into the portal. So that's the UBOS side of things. The Office 365 side is very important as well, because you only get the dial pad show up in Teams if you've got one of either of these two licenses. So you either need the common area phone license, which you can see is what we've assigned within DRD or VanillaIP to make this dial pad appear, and this is Ian's user again. So they either need that, or if you already have an E5 license, which includes all the phone system licenses within it, you can use that as well. So one or the other one of those licenses. You can, if you don't have any common area phone licenses or don't have any E5 licenses, you can apply for a 25 user 30-day trial of either of those licenses. If you want to just set it up for a quick trial, that's absolutely fine. You can do that. But yeah, so if you're an an E3 user already, you will at least need the common area phone license or upgrade to E5. There's quite a price difference between the two, so maybe you don't want to. We're the Office Premium, or apologies, I'm not a Microsoft licensing expert, but we're certainly not on the enterprise level licenses, so we use the Office Account Plus. There you go, Office 365 Business Premium, and we've got the Common Area Phone add-on as well. You want to do that, and you want to do that up to about 72 hours before you're planning to go live with this service, because at the moment there's a bit of a mixed mode with Microsoft, which is half Skype for Business still, half Teams. Obviously, it's trying to migrate everyone over to Teams. But while there's still this sort of mixed mode, there seems to be some delay. And obviously, everything that's going on at the moment globally, a lot more people using Teams in general. So there are some slight delays around information propagating through Microsoft platform in general. So it can take up to 72 hours. We have seen it take longer. If it does take longer, you need to engage with Microsoft at this point, because it's kind of, unless you're specifically looking after 365 for your client, it's down to the client to liaise with Microsoft. Because at that point, obviously you're ordering these licenses directly from Microsoft or from your Microsoft reseller, not from VanillaIP or obviously yourselves. Maybe you are. So you need that to go through there. So that's the Microsoft side done. And then the final part is the Call2Teams tool. So what we'll do, if it's the first time as a reseller you're set up, we'll go and set you up a reseller account, and we will then underneath that set up a business that is the business you've assigned it to. We'll set up their Call2Teams account as well. We'll put the licenses in for you, and we'll also need to obviously that global admin username or email address that we saw earlier in the business service and new boss. So when you get the login, or what will happen is we'll set you up the reseller. You should get an email account login for that. If anyone's done it already and haven't, just let me know and we'll make sure that gets sorted out for you. When you log in, you should have the ability to see multiple accounts. I'm logged in directly into the customer level here. What you will see is a variant on this page. So you go into the services tab. We should have already set up the PBX part for you. It will probably say on your one in Smart Cloud as the PBX, and that's basically just pointing your Teams partition to us as a platform owner. Obviously, we've gone for in Smart Cloud to keep it as white label as possible for you, the reseller. When the user logs in, they will go to this Teams tab, and then in mine it's already set up here, but they will have an option here that says, it'll be a one-click option that says Enable Service. They click that, they'll get a couple of pop-up windows where they have to accept some permissions for Call2Teams to basically log in as your user, your global admin, and it will go and set up your tenant essentially in the Teams environment, in the Office environment. So you accept those couple of little tick boxes, and then you'll get the sync box up here in the top right. And if it successfully performs an initial sync, it will come up and say, on the initial one, it takes about 15 minutes to go through, and it'll go and basically set up a few DNS records for you, and it will go and grab all of your users. Now, if you get any errors, this is all in the guide as well, just to make you all aware. The way the Call2Teams single click works, there's an element around setting up a couple of domains, and to do that, it needs a couple of spare Office licenses. So if you don't have any spare, whatever we've got, Office Premium or E3 or E5, you do need a couple of spare licenses to do that. If you don't have that, it will come up with an error. But a way around that is to apply for a trial license of either the E3, E5, or even the common area phone. If you apply for a license for any of those, then you just sync again and it will go through. And what it does is it just basically, while it's doing the initial setup, builds you 2 additional users to finish the setup process off, and then it will delete those users afterwards, and then you can just let your trial expire and off you go. Most people we've come across so far that are using this do tend to have a couple of spare licenses, or they're a 365 reseller and they've got some licenses anyway. But bear that in mind, and it's all in the guide for you anyway. Once the sync is complete, you go to the Users tab, and then this is where all your users will be listed. So initially there won't be anyone there. You click on Add User, and it will find anyone in your 365 portal that's got either that E5 license or the common area phone license, and it will bring them up here. I'll just quickly show you Ian's one, but essentially all you do, and this is where it's a little bit manual. You have to put in their phone number without the leading 0. You have to take quickly show you what it is. Again, it's all within the guide that we've sent out already. You grab the line port up to the point of the app. That goes into the username. You take the SIP username, which goes into the auth username field, and then the SIP password goes into that password field. You hit save, give it a couple of seconds, and then that should go green there, and off you go. So that's kind of how you set it up. It's reasonably straightforward like that. Occasionally, I've seen a few things, just to give you a couple of things that we have seen. If for some reason the users are set up as US-based users in the portal, which I don't know if it's a default thing, but I certainly had it with Amy here. You'd see it come up as +1 in the phone number, so you need to change that to make sure that obviously it's tying up correctly. So that's one thing to certainly bear in mind. And off you go. If you don't see your users there, or if you've gone, okay, we've tried it with 5, we're now going to add another 5 on or another 10 on, however you're going to do it. Make sure that once you've added those other licenses within 365, you come back, the global admin has to come back in here and perform another sync. At that point, anyone else can log in. So you guys as resellers can log in on the behalf of the customer. If they're not self-sufficient enough to be able to go and do this, they can go in, you guys can go in and just grab the other users and finish off the details. If there's a mass number of users that need to be done, let us know. We'll try and sort something out between us, or if need be, I believe Call2Teams have a bulk import tool that we can use on their behalf. It's not actually available to us in the portal at this point, but it's something that's coming soon, and hopefully with the APIs we should be able to make this far less manual anyway. So anyway, once you've done that, you should be all good to go, and then you go back to the application itself, which is here somewhere. There we go. I've called in from my mobile into this call today just so I can show you some actual calls happening as they go. So dial pad's pretty straightforward. I can dial full numbers, or I can dial internal extensions. So if I ring our conference bridge here, it comes up, it pops up, makes the call. We're now connected to a call. You see it's got a little timer there, how many you've been on the call. You can mute the call, bring up the dial pads if you've rung into an auto attendant or something, or a conference bridge needs you to dial some numbers. Off you go, pop that in there. You've then got the options, some other options to change your device settings, enter full screen if you really need to. You don't really need to do that with this. Put the call on hold, then you can resume the call. I can transfer the call. I can set your name or type in a number. I can also consult, then transfer. So dial the person first, speak to them, and then I can perform a transfer. I can also just hang the call up there as well. If someone calls me, in fact, I'll replicate that by dialing through Unity. So you can also use Unity with this as well, and I'll cover that off shortly. So if I make a call, it should call through. So imagine this was just a normal inbound call, little pop-up in the bottom right-hand corner here. I click on the tick to answer the call, and again, I've got the same controls there as well. Now, one thing that you don't see there is any conferencing controls, and I believe that you don't get any conferencing option within the application unless you're paying for a Microsoft conference service, which obviously we want to try and keep the Microsoft cost down with this as much as we can. So what you can do, if you want to do an ad hoc, N-way or 3-way conference call, the best way to do it that we certainly found, so if I make a quick call to 1263 again, let that call connect. And when that call connects, I'll go back to the calls tab. I've got my dial pad here. If I dial another number, it's just my voicemail. Just highlight this here. I'll make another call here. So now I've got 2 calls up over here on the left. And then what I can just do, if I use Unity, which everyone should have a Unity Lite included at least, you can see I've got the calls here. And then I won't try and connect them all, so it's going to cause a problem. But basically, if I hit conference, it will do that. It's because it's picking up my other calls there. So I'm just going to release those out. But yeah, in theory, any calls that you see active in there, you can join those into a conference. And you can also use Unity, put it on hold, transfer, etc., just like you would do. It basically is acting like it's your other device, like your desk phone would be when it comes to Unity. Now, the other thing you can obviously do with Unity is if you want to be using Teams as your main device for making calls, receiving calls, and you're a member of a call center, where you can still use UBOS as your platform to set up your call centers, your auto attendants, etc. But if you're an call center agent, obviously I can come in here and set my availability states for my call centers and my queues in here if I need to as well. And obviously everything will still come up as well. Just some of the other things in here for Teams. And again, we aren't specifically Teams expert. We're not big Teams users within the organisation as such. So I'm sure you can all of you that are Teams users can show me a lot more than I can show you. But on the call side of things, you can set up speed dials if you want to. So we had a question the other day from a customer. What's a quick way to dial voicemail? Well, obviously you could dial your voicemail number, but you can also come in and set up a speed dial. So in this case, I've set up a speed dial to *86. If I dial that, it will ring voicemail and it brings me straight into my conference bridge. I've just got to enter my password and off we go. We're in the conference bridge there. And again, you can set up any other of your star codes in there as well to be in there. Contacts are local to Teams. There's no tie between, apart from the ability to make the calls, there's no tie between our Broadworks platform and the contacts list. So it doesn't pull through any Broadworks contacts through. Obviously, if you are using Unity, you've still got your contact list that you can use there, your call logs, everything that you've got normally in Unity, including all your directories, etc. They'll all be there, and you can still click to dial through this if you want to. So just bear that in mind. I've got a few people in here: Ian, Group Pickup, Dean, Alistair. I've got a few people that I've added over time that I can bring through. Again, not being a massive Teams expert, I can't seem to find a way to bring through your Outlook contacts into Teams. I think from what I can tell, they are totally separate, but what you can do is set up your contacts within the Teams portal or the Office 365 portal and then push it down. You can do that, certainly. History will show you any calls that you have made or received through the app itself. So you can see there's my voicemail calls and my 1263 calls that we've made. And then the voicemail itself, we don't use it. So again, we're trying to use our hosted voicemail within UBOS. So that is there for you. But I mean, you could turn this on if you want to, and Microsoft does have a nice service where it can do transcription of email, of voicemail if you want to, but entirely down to yourself. If you are using a normal secondary hosted desk phone, or if you're using Teams purely during the situation we're all in at the moment and intend to go back and not use Teams for calls at that point, you will find that if you started to get calls on your voicemail in Teams, you're not going to see that on your hosted handset. Okay, so that is totally separate. So that's why we kind of recommend one thing to do. So in here, I go in to my settings, go into calls, and then if I don't answer a call, I tell it to do nothing. Otherwise, another thing that you'll find might happen, if you're only using the desktop app and you've already got a desk phone, and once this service kicks in, if you don't change this and you set it to voicemail, essentially the call goes to Teams because it's always registered, and basically all your calls are going to go to voicemail if you've got the app closed. Okay, so we, by default, again, it's in the guide, we tell it to do nothing, and that way you'll still receive calls. So at the moment, my UC1 rings, my desk phone rings, my mobile rings, and my Teams client rings as well. We're a little bit different. Obviously, we've got lots of apps running, but just bear that in mind when you're using the application. I think that's everything I wanted to show you guys. I don't think there's anything else that I needed to show you from here. So hopefully that's been useful to you all. And I'm going to try and put you back over to Ian's screen. There you go, Ian. You should now be in control.
And you should be able to see the screen we left on let's step through the product. Thanks very much indeed, Ed, for taking us through that. Okay, so that's a quick run through the product. We wanted to show you the background of the mechanic of setting it up. This is an evolving service as we start to move closer and being able to work with the Microsoft Teams product, which is being powerfully pushed from the other side, as I'm sure you're aware. This is option one for us to have this integrated call to Teams app device stuck on the side of Microsoft Teams. We do now know that the integration with UC1 will be coming through relatively soon as well. So as we start to investigate and converse more with people who are using Teams within their organizations, you are going to be able to have a series of different solutions which you can try and work into the specific users or the specific businesses that you're talking to. Now Amy's been cracking away at some great stuff. I think it's just being finished off to go into your voice start. So apologies if it's not there on the day. It is being pushed through as fast as possible. If you refer back to the launch information that came out, or perhaps request a resend of the launch information that came out, as Ed said, there's the install guides, and there are some information guides and battle cards here for you as salespeople. But I would again say wherever possible, if you speak to your organization, try and get yourself on this if it's not a core product within your business itself. Telling isn't selling, only demonstrating is selling. So some ability to get this onto screen and showing how quickly and easily your customer can utilize their Teams app to incorporate more closely in with the phone services would be fantastic. So that's just about it for what we wanted to walk through. Amy, I don't know if we've got any questions sitting there.
We've got a few questions. First one is, does call recording work if you're using the Teams device, internal and external?
If you're using Teams to talk to each other as Teams to Teams contact, i.e. you are not making an outbound call, no. Only when the BroadSoft is being used to engage to create an outside path to a non-Teams member will you get call recording.
Okay, next one is, can you transfer Teams to Teams via the name?
Transfer Teams to Teams via the name. I assume you mean if you get a call in and then transfer it to another Teams member. Good question. Come back to you on that one. Not actually sure.
And then it says, assume contacts, they'd be using the Active Directory, which I think links to the past question. within Office 365, you've got it set up, And then another one is, we are a Teams user and had the business voice demo this week. If a call comes in on a main number and you want to transfer it to another user, do you transfer via their face, or do you have to select the phone transfer option? I think that links back to the first question.
Same question, So we'll double check that. I must admit, we'll have to check that one out. I'm not sure.
And we have another longer question about licensing from Carl, which I will forward on to you, Ed, and you can get direct reply to that. But that is all the questions.
No problem.
Well, listen, everybody, thanks for joining this webinar. We'll probably put a few more webinars up over the next few weeks just to go back on some of the other products. If you've got any ideas for things that you'd like to be covered, clearly we all have more time to attend webinars because we're not out and about traveling on the road. So do please feel free to feedback to the marketing team any subjects which you particularly feel as salespeople you would like to go through. The channel managers are available. I really encourage you to have virtual meetings with them and use them as crash test dummies. Show them that you can demo. Get them to sit there while you try to demo. Do it with colleagues. Do it with my colleagues in the sales team. But again, the better we can skill up to do the sales demonstrations using virtual tools, the more business we'll secure, but also the more we'll be able to coach our customers into being efficient and proficient during this working from home period. But thank you again for your time. We're going to let you go. It's 3 o'clock. Have a great rest of the afternoon. We'll speak to you soon.